Welcome to the Politico. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. Let's talk about something at the core of American life: meat. It's on our dinner tables, in our lunchboxes, and at the center of countless family gatherings. For many, it's a symbol of prosperity, tradition, and comfort. But have you ever stopped to wonder how that steak or chicken breast actually gets to your plate? We rarely consider the journey from farm to supermarket shelf. The process is hidden from view, tucked away behind the bright lights and shiny packaging of the grocery store. It's easy to forget the vast machinery and human effort that make it all possible. But that journey is a complex, often brutal industrial process, and right now it's breaking down. The machinery that once ran smoothly is now grinding to a halt, exposing the fragility of a system we all depend on. Across the country, massive meatpacking plants are shutting down, leaving behind empty buildings and shattered communities. These closures aren't just about lost jobs, they're about the unraveling of entire local economies. This isn't just a business story, it's about people, power, and the true cost of cheap meat. When a plant closes, it's not just the workers who suffer. Local diners, hardware stores, and schools all feel the impact. When a giant like Tyson Foods closes a facility, the ripple effects devastate entire towns. Families are forced to move, small businesses shutter, and the sense of community begins to erode. These plants are economic engines, not just workplaces. They provide stability, opportunity, and a sense of purpose for thousands of people. The recent closure of Tyson's Emporia, Kansas plant is a stark example of a system on the edge, squeezed by economic pressures and corporate consolidation. For Emporia, the loss was more than financial, it was deeply personal. The American meat industry is a cornerstone of the world's food system. What happens here affects global trade, food prices, and labor practices. The shockwaves travel far beyond our borders, influencing what people eat around the globe. With just a few companies controlling the market, their decisions have outsized impacts, sometimes devastating entire communities overnight. The balance of power is concentrated, and the consequences are felt by the many, not the few. Tonight, we'll dive into how one Kansas plant became so critical, the economic fallout, the wider industry crisis, and most importantly, the human stories behind the headlines. We'll hear from workers, families, and business owners whose lives have been upended. Because behind every corporate press release, there are real people facing an uncertain future, people whose voices deserve to be heard as we confront the unsettling silence left behind by the slaughterhouse. To grasp the impact of Emporia's closure, you need to know what it meant to the town. Emporia wasn't just any small town, it was a community built around the rhythm of the plant. For decades, the plant was more than a workplace, it was the community's backbone. It provided stability, a sense of purpose, and a livelihood for countless families. Tyson acquired it in 2001, after buying Iowa Beef Packers, or IBP, a move that changed the industry. This acquisition was a significant milestone, marking a new era of consolidation in the meatpacking world. The plant became a critical cog in Tyson's global machine, processing beef and pork for dinner tables nationwide. It was a hub of activity, with workers ensuring that products met the highest standards, processing beef and pork for dinner tables nationwide. The products from this plant were a staple in households across the country. Its presence shaped Emporia's identity, becoming intertwined with the town's culture and daily life, drawing a diverse workforce and defining local culture. People from various backgrounds came together, united by their work at the plant. The closure isn't just about lost jobs, it's the erasure of a legacy, a betrayal of a long-standing pact between company and community. Generations worked there, a betrayal of a long-standing pact between company and community. Generations worked there, often enduring tough conditions for a shot at the middle class. The plant was a symbol of hope and opportunity, often enduring tough conditions for a shot at the middle class. The work was hard, but it provided a pathway to a better life for many. The IBP acquisition marked a turning point in industry consolidation, giving a handful of companies immense power over prices, workers, and entire towns. Giving a handful of companies immense power over prices, workers, and entire towns. This consolidation has had far-reaching effects, reshaping the landscape of the meatpacking industry. Now, a single corporate decision can devastate a community overnight. The closure of the Emporia plant is a stark reminder of this reality. Emporia's story is a microcosm of how decades of industry evolution have left local communities vulnerable. The town's experience serves as a cautionary tale for other communities dependent on a single industry. The end for Emporia's plant was a slow, painful process. In December 2024, Tyson announced the closure, citing efficiency, corporate speak for layoffs. Over 800 workers faced sudden uncertainty as production shifted to another facility. Layoffs came in waves, dragging out the anxiety for months. By March 2025, only 220 employees remained. By June 27, the plant was shuttered for good. Each round of cuts deepened the community's crisis. Tyson's offer to relocate workers was a logistical nightmare for most. Corporate statements promised support, but for many, it was a hollow gesture. The closure left Emporia reeling, a casualty of bottom-line decisions made far away. The economic fallout was immediate and severe. Almost overnight, the closure of the Tyson Foods plant sent shockwaves through Emporia, leaving families and businesses reeling from the sudden loss. Before the closure, Emporia's unemployment rate was a remarkably low 3%, a sign of a stable, thriving community where most people who wanted a job could find one. But within a year, that number had nearly doubled, as hundreds of workers found themselves suddenly out of work, with few options in a small town. The loss of 800 jobs, over 2% of Lyon County's entire workforce, was nothing short of catastrophic. For a community of this size, it was a blow that touched nearly every household. Each job at the plant didn't just support an individual worker, it supported entire families, kept local businesses afloat, and contributed to the city's tax base, funding schools and public services. Tyson's suggestion that workers simply relocate to other facilities ignored the deep roots people had in Emporia, their homes, their children's schools, and their community ties. Uprooting a family isn't just a logistical challenge, it's an emotional one. In reality, only about 5% of former employees were able to move to other Tyson locations. The vast majority stayed behind, now facing unemployment and uncertainty about their future. The city quickly mobilized a rapid response team, organizing job fairs and emergency meetings to help those affected. But the sheer scale of the loss was overwhelming, and resources were stretched thin. Local programs and social services could only do so much in the face of such a massive economic wound. The need for assistance far outpaced what was available. The closure's ripple effects were felt everywhere. Small businesses lost customers, homes went up for sale, schools saw declining enrollment, and public services suffered as tax revenues fell. Emporia's economic heart had been ripped out by a decision made in a distant corporate boardroom, leaving the town to deal with the consequences. In the aftermath, the community was left to pick up the pieces, relying on each other for support and searching for hope in the face of an uncertain future. Beyond the numbers are the personal stories of loss and upheaval. For many, the plant wasn't just a job, it was an identity, a way of life. Tyson's relocation offer ignored deep community roots and family ties. Many contract chicken growers, not direct employees, faced financial ruin as their investments became worthless overnight. The psychological toll was immense. Prolonged layoffs brought stress, anxiety, and a sense of betrayal. Social services were strained and hope was hard to find. Behind every statistic is a family struggling to adapt to a new, uncertain reality. Emporia's closure is part of a nationwide crisis. In 2024 and 2025, at least 15 major meatpacking plants shut down, the highest rate in a decade. Rising livestock costs, labor shortages, and food safety scandals have battered the industry. Boar's Head closed its Virginia plant after a deadly listeria outbreak. Butterball shut down in Arkansas. Each closure devastates a town reliant on a single employer, destabilizing rural economies. Regulators are now investigating whether industry giants have abused their market power. The crisis is forcing a reckoning with the structure and fairness of the American meat industry. Experts say the industry is a victim of its own relentless drive for efficiency. Decades of get big or get out have led to hyper-consolidation and a brittle system. The closure of one plant can now disrupt the entire supply chain. Labor shortages are exposing the unsustainability of a model built on low-wage, high-risk work. Food safety risks are amplified when production is concentrated in a few massive facilities. The Boar's Head listeria outbreak showed how a single failure can have deadly consequences. Financial analysts see closures as logical business moves, but for communities, they're devastating. The system is working as designed, for shareholders, not for workers or towns. The gap between Wall Street and Main Street has never been clearer. For many, that's the heart of the problem. Tyson's official statements were polished but rang hollow in Emporia. "Taking care of our team members is our top priority," they said, while closing the plant. Offers to relocate ignored the realities of family, community, and home. Resources provided were seen as a bandage on a wound Tyson itself inflicted. The community responded with resilience. Local leaders formed a rapid response team, churches held food drives, and businesses tried to help. This grassroots effort stood in stark contrast to Tyson's impersonal decision. The disconnect highlights a flaw in modern capitalism. Corporations answer to shareholders, not communities. When those interests diverge, the community loses. Tyson's statements justified a decision that prioritized profit over people. Emporia was left to rebuild on its own. Emporia's closure is a warning for rural America. As corporations chase efficiency, more towns risk losing their economic core. Extreme industry consolidation has created a fragile, anti-competitive system. The future may bring more supply chain disruptions, food safety risks, and lost opportunities. Policymakers must rethink antitrust laws and invest in smaller regional food systems. The industry itself must adapt, investing in workers' safety and genuine community partnerships. Emporia's story is a cautionary tale about the human cost of disconnected economics. The future of America's heartland depends on valuing community as much as corporate profit. If we don't learn from Emporia, its silence will echo in towns across the country.